What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Week 3 NFL Draftkings live stream brought to you by Daily Grind Fantasy Sports. Here I have with me TJ and Kevin. TJ had a very long morning, very eventful one. He was on a major radio show, actually. So, TJ, would you like to tell them a little bit more about that?
So 98.5 The Sports Hub is a Boston-based sports talk radio show. It's actually the biggest one in Boston. And I was lucky enough to go on there and talk about some daily sports. We focused this morning on some good plays for Week 3 in football. And not going to lie, a little nervous at first time being on radio. But I think as, we started going and flowing, I got definitely more acclimated. So if you guys were able to check it out, or if any of you are coming over from there to the YouTube stream, then welcome. You got any questions in the chat, you can hit us up. And it was good. It was good, Matt. It went well.
Yeah, I called you immediately after, and you could tell you were nervous, but it's all good. We actually have the plugs for their radio show on our Twitter. We retweeted a lot of stuff. So if you guys want to go follow them, go check it out. TJ should be on there in a couple weeks as well, so look out for that. We'll let you guys know in the Discord and everything. But let's go ahead and jump right into this Week 3 NFL slate, guys. We've been talking about it all week, so if you guys have been showing your support on YouTube, please continue to do so. We put out our first look videos, final looks, QB, wide receiver, running back, everything. We come up with new content all the time. We're always thinking of stuff. If you guys want us to improve in any way possible, feel free to comment in the YouTube comment section or chat anything we could do better for you guys. So let's go ahead and dive right into this. Position by position is what we decided on going, following that format. QB position. Let's go ahead and kick it off. Kevin, I haven't heard your beautiful voice, so you want to go ahead and lead off here?
So handsome, his voice. It matches his face perfectly.
What's going on? Ryan Friedley.
Ryan Friedley. Shout out to Ryan Friedley.
Douglas Friedley, welcome. Thank you for tuning in, man. Matt, real quick, move the mic like a slight inch away from your mouth because
it's a little bit loud.
Very loud.
Sorry. I'm excited.
Long time fan, Ryan Friedley. Long time fan.
Good guy.
Great guy. Moving at the quarterbacks, we're looking. We talked about just kind of rounding off our ownership here. We're looking at Kyler Murray coming in as the top owned. No surprise there. He kind of has been past couple weeks. For his salary too, they just can't seem to get his salary where I believe he needs to be for how many points he's scoring. So don't hate Kyler Murray. I know we talked about where people are paying up this week, Matt, and I think there's some leverage, even though people are paying up. It looks like a little bit for Dak and Russell Wilson. They think it's going to be a shootout. So, I mean, obviously we agree. So I think one of them is definitely live. They could be very high scoring. What did Dak get last week? We just watched him get like 40
well,
points,
he also got 3 rushing touchdowns, so that was insane.
Yeah, that was.
But I also think he can get. I mean, he can clear 30 with his arm very easily as well. We've seen it happen. Same with Russell. I mean, Patriots secondary is known to be a very good secondary, and he just dropped 5 on us. So I definitely like either option there. I know we talked about Cam Newton. I mean, for what his ceiling is right now, especially where, you know, all their wide receivers, Edelman's banged up, N'Keal Harry's banged up, James White's still not playing, might cause Cam to even use his legs more than usual. So I don't hate Cam Newton. And just to round off kind of the top 5 here, where I'm looking through ownership, we talked about Matt Stafford. His ownership definitely took a big jump and where it's trending. I definitely like Matt Stafford. I mean, he could be in a shootout as well. I definitely think, especially with Golladay back, his value definitely goes up for me.
Yeah, so there's like top 5, or there's a top 4 QB drop off here. So it goes Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson, Newton, and then Dak Prescott, and then it literally drops off, but all the ownerships are cut in half pretty much at that point. And it just keeps going down the line. So out of Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson, Newton, Prescott, TJ, I guess my question to you is, do you agree with those ownerships? Should they be chalk? Do you see anybody else you should include that's maybe getting overlooked out of those 4?
Yeah, I mean, besides those 4, I feel like those guys are garnishing the most ownership, and rightfully so, between Kyler, Russ, Cam, and Dak. You know, for me, for cash, I'm definitely leaning toward Kyler Murray. Highest team total over under on the slate at 31, 6-point favorites against a Lions defense that has struggled against the run and through the air. And we know Kyler Murray is that dual threat. If he can't get it done with his arm and that pocket is collapsing, he's very good at getting out of the pocket, making plays, like I said, using his legs. And that's huge in Draftkings, obviously. Hasn't eclipsed 300 yards throwing yet, but I mean, 160 yards on the ground through 2 games for a quarterback is fantastic. It's not crazy to think that he's going to get 1,000 yards rushing this season. I mean, it's pretty. I don't know if you guys can agree with me. I feel like it's going to happen no matter what. So I'm definitely looking at Kyler for cash, and yeah, I think that Seattle-Dallas game is just looking to be a shootout, right? I mean, that's a 57 over under, which is just absolutely bananas. We've seen both those offenses just absolutely obliterate through the first 2 weeks, including, you know, our Patriots and their secondary, unfortunately. And then real quick on Cam Newton, I mean, I love him, man. So the 4 Patriot running backs have combined for 40 carries and 139 rushing yards in 1 touchdown. Cam Newton by himself, Matt, 26 carries, 122 rushing yards, and 4 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So Cam Newton is virtually the Patriots offense right now. Going up
like
against
Lamar Jackson,
Raiders,
pretty much.
Yeah. Going up against the Raiders team that had a really big win against the Saints on Monday night, a short week, traveling to the East Coast, playing the Patriots. I definitely like Cam Newton in that spot. I think it's kind of going to be a blowout too. So I don't know. Maybe they're going to run the ball more than they're going to need Cam to throw. So yeah, I think those guys garnishing the ownership, and rightfully so. How do you guys feel about a guy like Carson Wentz in a bounce-back game against a pretty poor Cincinnati defense?
You know, we talked about this, Kevin, in our final look video. I'm not a fan until he shows consistency, but if I think there's a week he gets it done, it has to be against the Bengals. It has to be. Yeah. I mean, especially with the tight end struggling. He's not even getting it to the tight ends at this point. We know that Ertz is one of the highest owned tight ends on the slate. So again, like, there's people that do believe in him, and he is technically the next highest owned quarterback on the slate at 5.3%, if you want to consider that high owned at that point. I'm going to include him in my player pool. I just probably won't have as much exposure to these other guys that have such a high ceiling. Kevin?
I mean, my only thing with Carson Wentz is, I read a stat the other day too, and it was like against not the Eagles and against it was like something like the Redskins and someone else. His record has been atrocious over the past 2 seasons. I know he's been banged up. His receiver core has been banged up. Obviously, that's a very large factor for a quarterback. But I mean, I think the Bengals also have an underrated secondary, and I think they're going to pose some problems for him. Bengals defense has actually been okay. It's been okay. I mean, it's not the blowout team, I think, that is still resonating in people's minds from last year. So I don't know. I know we talked about it, Matt. I'm not fully sold on Carson Wentz. I've liked Carson Wentz before, but I don't know. It's just he's got an uphill battle either way you look at it. Even if the talent's there, he's got a very hard. I mean, Miles Sanders takes a little bit of that weight off and a little bit of the pressure. He's good pass catching back as well, but I don't know. Not huge on Carson Wentz yet, as we talked about.
Real quick on the sorry, real quick, TJ. If you guys have any questions, because I see a bunch of them coming in, feel free to ask them. We're not ignoring you, I promise. We'll get to them. It's going to be later on in the stream. We'll open up for a Q&A session, about 15 minutes or so with the stream, with the time we have left in the stream. So, TJ, go ahead.
So the one thing I do want to touch base on Wentz is, he's been very poor through their first 2 games. I think that Washington defense, especially that front 7, is completely underrated. And just the pressure that they had on Wentz last week made it very tough on him. So, sorry, that was week 1, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was week 1.
So he's thrown 2 picks in his first 2 games, but he's thrown 37.5% of his targets to his tight ends in Ertz and Goddard. Goddard's had 17 targets. Ertz has had 15. Obviously, Rieger's banged up. Alshon still hasn't played. So at 5,100 and 4,900, I expect Wentz to, again, rely heavily on those 2 guys. Choosing between them, good luck. I'm going to have lineups with both and Wentz because I do think they're in a sneaky good spot. I mean, they got to get going here eventually. I think Wentz is, and having Sanders back, too, in the mix, I think that only helps Wentz. So I expect them to get going today against Cincy. I really hope I'm right because I am going to be kind of overweight.
I mean, I'll tell you, I think that makes sense. I mean, I definitely don't hate the tight ends. I think one of those tight ends is going to eat well.
I think so too. It's just trying to differentiate between the 2. So I'm going to have lineups with both, or not both. I'm going to have Wentz and Goddard, and then Wentz and Ertz, and
both might not even be a bad idea.
Yeah. I mean, you never know.
So I believe Julio's out.
Yeah, so we just got a comment in the chat. Ryan Friedley, thank you for that. Julio ruled out. So if we just continue down the list, like a great pivot off of somebody like Carson Wentz, in my opinion, like Matthew Stafford, we already know that has shootout potential with the Arizona-Detroit game. I love Matthew Stafford for upside. And you guys know I always talk about upside. I'm a GPP player, so I'm always thinking about that. Like, to me, Stafford has so much more upside than somebody like Carson Wentz just because we know how much of a gunslinger he really is. Arizona is always in shootout, at least early on. They found themselves in shootouts in both games. I love Matthew Stafford. What do you guys think about him?
I love Matthew Stafford for that same reason. I talked about that earlier. I mean, he is a little bit pricier. He's 500 more than someone like Wentz, but again, he can put up big numbers. He's always in shootouts. I mean, he throws more than just about anybody in the league. I mean, clears 5,000 yards almost every year because of that. So I do like Matt Stafford. He's usually in a shootout, and that team historically cannot run the ball super efficiently. So
yeah, he's also got Galladay back this week, and I mean they're 6-point dogs. So you figure they're going to be coming from behind, so that equates to more Matthew Stafford throws and more potential. So I can get behind that. But guys, Tom Brady going to Denver, 4-7 career record. So he's not good going to the Mile High Stadium, but. Matt, we were talking about this. The leverage there in the ownership with him and then Mike Evans and Chris Godwin just makes me want to have a team stack of the Buccaneers going to Denver. And so far, Denver's given up the 4th most receiving yards to opposing wide receivers. So if I can get a Brady, Godwin, and Evans stack and it shows out, like I'm putting myself in a great spot if I'm entering a large tournament. Again, he's still getting acclimated with his wide receivers. Evans was banged up in week 1 with the hamstring. I think he was more of a decoy. Godwin missed last week with concussion. They're both back. I don't know if they're fully healthy, but to have them both on the field with Brady and continue to get that repetition down in routes and when Brady's going to get rid of the ball, I think that's huge. So I think the more we progress through the season, the more comfortable Brady will get. And I think this is a pretty good spot for him, even though they're on the road. I mean, he probably won't even throw a touchdown now that I'm going to be stacking him. But yeah, I'm definitely interested in that.
I'm right there with you. I'm starting Tom Brady in one of the fantasy leagues. I think it's a good stack. Mike Evans. I mean, even when he was a decoy with Marshawn Lattimore on him. That's a hard day at the office when you're banged up and facing someone like that in week 1. So week 2, we saw him with obviously a little bit more back to himself, and he looked like it. I mean, Brady. We've talked about this before. He likes a big guy and he likes a small guy. He always has. That's why he likes a tight end usually, and then he likes a small guy. Yep, exactly. So I think.
I didn't mention him, but.
Yeah, I think Godwin hurts him a ton because I think he's going to be that, But I mean, you never know. You never know. I could absolutely see him. I mean, how much is Scotty Miller this week? I know we haven't made it to wide receivers yet, but I mean, he's cheap as anything, and
he is 4,000.
Yeah, so I mean, you throw 3-4 catches in there, he's hitting price. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's very intriguing there. But yeah, I like a Tom Brady stack. One more quarterback that I just want to touch on this list. I mean,
say it.
Say it.
Say it.
Do I have to?
Say it.
I don't know. I don't know if it's who he wants me to say. Mitch Trubisky.
Oh God, trash bag.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think Mitch Trubisky's good at football, but I mean that is a very favorable matchup.
I think that's Ann, right? I think he has feet.
I don't know. He's not. I don't know. Not sold yet, but he's. But the situation's there. We've seen him throw more this year. I think getting David Montgomery going last week actually bodes well for that offense. I don't want them to be. I want them to be balanced. You know what I mean? So and it's a very favorable matchup. I mean, they're going to be in a shootout. That is one of the highest projected. Even with the Bears secondary and their defense, I think that's still going to be a shootout. I like him. And then just I took in those big contests, I took Ben Roethlisberger as more of a contrarian pick, coming in at looking at 2% ownership right now.
Yeah.
I can tell you what, guys, I love these pre-lock live streams with Kevin and TJ because I don't have to say a word because they just talk the entire time. So
we're good at it.
Huge shout out to them because I don't have to say anything. Also, guys, I'm addressing a question in the chat real quick. The question is when
walking in the back of the camera.
No, shout out to Amanda though.
Not okay.
The final sheet will come out at 12:30. I'll make the final updates. I know Julio just got ruled out and he's on our sheet. Do not worry about that, guys. And we are starting to step into Patreon territory with some of our favorite GPP plays. You guys have any more GPP targets that you're looking for at QB, or can we move on to running back?
You guys gonna disown me if I say Daniel Jones?
Yeah, let's move on to running back right now.
All right, no Solomon Hill, no Richard Sherman, no Bosa. Like that defense is depleted.
I'm big on Daniel Jones too, especially this year. But
just
also no Sterling Shepard.
No Sterling Shepard. I know, but Kevin, you think Slayton's better than Shepard, anyways? I know. No Saquon's trash, dude.
Slayton's the best receiver in the league. We don't need to talk about that. But
okay, we won't get into Slayton. But yeah, no, I kind of like Daniel Jones as maybe a one lineup GPP play because, like I said, that 49ers defense is pretty depleted. But I still expect the Niners to win by a touchdown because the Giants are equally depleted and just absolutely trash.
And they're the Giants,
and they're the Giants, so they'll puke all over themselves. But yeah, I just want to throw him out there.
All right, Daniel Jones it is, but that's only from TJ. Yeah, you didn't hear that from me. Just an FYI. We're moving on to running back position here. We're gonna sort by ownership, starting from the top. We already briefly talked about Miles Sanders, Kenyon Drake, Taylor, Zeke, and Singletary. Those are the top 5 on ownership. Do you guys want to continue to talk about Sanders and the rest of this list here at the top?
Yeah. I mean, TJ, you want to take it off with that crazy amount of ownership? I mean, me and Matt talked about it. I'm curious what you think about Sanders at 34%.
Yeah, it's wild. I think it's warranted, though. Highest owned maybe on the slate.
It is, yeah.
It's a really cheap price tag at $6,400 going up against that Bengals defense that has looked pretty bad against the run so far in their first 2 games. So it's funny. Miles Sanders was supposed to be on a pitch count after missing week 1, and he came in and he had 20 carries, 7 targets, 131 scrimmage yards. So I don't really get that. And, Peterson's one to kind of get a committee of running backs, right? I mean, he likes to get different looks.
Yep.
I remember the days with Sproles, and I mean, I don't
think Boston Scott's going to still get some action?
Boston Scott, probably. Boston Scott will probably have 3 touchdowns. But so since he ranks dead last in rushing yards allowed to running backs, so if Wentz doesn't turn the ball over and can actually be productive and give them the lead that they should have, I expect
a close game, yeah.
Right, yeah. If they can keep it close and Philly's up, I expect Miles Sanders to have 20 to 25 rushes. And, I mean, I expect Wentz to have some dump-offs to him as well. So I think he's in a fantastic spot as long as the Eagles aren't playing from behind. And I think the only way they play from behind is if Carson Wentz doesn't come out and he isn't accurate. If he's throwing picks left and right like he has in the first 2 weeks, then that might
take Carson Wentz being accurate. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. That might hurt Miles Sanders in his day. But like I said, I expect Philly to come out and win. So I expect a big day from Miles Sanders to play with a lead and just, give it to their featured back. So.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so our take on this, Kevin, was that more than a third of the entire field has Miles Sanders. So you guys are talking about a sharp fade in GPPs. Fade the heck out of Sanders because that is crazy ownership for a 13-game slate. Just absolutely insane. You're talking about a third of the field having running backs, 26 different running backs to choose from, and you're taking Miles Sanders. Third of the field it's just crazy to me. So
as a player, I like him. I do like him.
Oh, I love him. I love him for cash, 100%. Yeah,
but like we were talking about, that's 2/3 of the field. You have such an edge on.
1/3, yeah, and I mean Drake's right up there too. I mean a fourth of the field. What do you guys think about Drake?
I like Drake. 6,000 is just that. I mean, I think that he has a higher ceiling than Sanders, and he's 400 cheaper. And the thing is, we know that offense can roll. We have to worry about Carson Wentz with Sanders. We don't have to worry about Kyler Murray with Drake. That's one thing.
Well, the one thing that concerns me with Kyler Oh my God, Kyler Murray is his ability to take off. So yeah, I know. I've been stuttering all morning on the radio.
It's all good.
So the one thing that scares me with Kyler Murray is his ability to get out and run, right? But this is a game that Arizona should be out in front. So like we were just talking with Sanders closing, I expect the same from Drake. I mean, he had 20 carries last week. It's not like the opportunity isn't there. And you're right, Kevin. This offense does play quick. So I mean, at $6K, yeah, that's really cheap, and he's going to be pretty high owned as well. And I definitely like him as a play.
All right, so moving down the list here, we have Jonathan Taylor, 22.1%. Kevin, I already know your thoughts on Taylor. TJ, what are your thoughts going against the Jets?
I mean, the Jets are horrible. They're just absolutely horrible. It kind of looks like Jonathan Taylor took over the reins of that running back committee. Obviously Mack went down, and it was him, Mack, and Hines. And yeah, Jonathan Taylor, 26 carries last week against Minnesota, 100 yards. I mean, the kid's going to be a stud, so as long as he can stay healthy. 30%, I'll probably fade him in tournaments, but for cash, I like Sanders, I like Jonathan Taylor, and I like Kenyon Drake all in cash. If you're gonna fade them in tournaments and they all are average and you have some good leverage spots, then I think you're in a fantastic spot in tournaments.
That brings me to my next point. Me and Kevin talked about this as well. I think the most contrarian building for the slate in general is paying up for running backs and paying down for wide receivers, because you're talking about D-Hop at 7,900. You're talking about the top salary guys here for running backs are Zeke and Henry. Those guys are both in absolute smash spots today. I mean, you're talking about 16.7% in Henry. His ownership even dropped to 10.8%. According to our leverage sheet, not giving too much away, but they have an enormous ceiling. And I am all aboard doing a contrarian build. If you guys want to try to get both those guys in there, there's not too many people out there that are going to have both of those stud running backs if you guys are paying down for the other positions. Maybe take a discounted Tom Brady at the QB position, take a discounted, I don't even know who's there. Joe Burrow's there, really cheap. We haven't even talked about him, but then pay up. Daniel Jones, exactly. Talk about those guys that are discounted QBs. Pay down for wide receiver and grab those very hard to get running backs. I think that's a very good contrarian build. But yeah, sorry, I went on a little bit of a rant there.
No Dalvin Cook love there, man.
I didn't even get to him yet. Dalvin Cook is, 8.5%. We saw what the Jags did to Tennessee, so it's just insane.
Yeah, I mean, the Vikings have struggled in their first two games. There's no doubt about that. Just like Carson Wentz, Kirk Cousins stinks. I think he misses Diggs pretty bad. I feel like he's honing in on Thielen a little too much. They haven't been able to really get Dalvin going, unfortunately, and I think this is a good spot for them to do so. The Titans actually ranked 22nd in DVOA against the run, surprisingly. And Dalvin's only gotten he only has 113 rushing yards so far, but he's that bell cow there. He's carried the ball 72% of the time out of that backfield. So I expect a pretty big day from Dalvin Cook. I expect them to give it to him early and often and kind of take the ball out of Kirk Cousins' hands and let Dalvin get him this win. I mean, and they're 0-2. They need a win today. They have to win. Can't start off 0-3.
Yeah.
So they're in a do-or-die spot, I feel like, already.
Yeah, unfortunately they are. I mean, Dalvin Cook's up there, Zeke and Henry. I mean, take your pick at that point. We don't have any Christian McCaffrey, so you're going to have to pay up somewhere for running back. I think those are your most viable options. Going down the list, we have Singletary, Carson. I guess, is there anything else that you guys want to talk about when you look at the top cash options here for running back?
I mean, Zach Moss is out. Singletary, I think, at 4,900. I mean, that offense is a wagon right now. We've also seen him face two pretty pedestrian teams. I mean, pedestrian's a nice way of saying garbage. I don't know.
Yeah,
they're not good. I'd like to see how they actually do. And we talked about this. I want to see how Diggs does. I want to see how Josh Allen does. I want to see how that offense does against a real comparable team like they're going up against now. So that's going to be interesting. But I mean, at 4,900, it's hard for him to not hit value, especially as a good pass catching back. Yeah, I think I like the Zeke and Derrick Henry contrarian picks. I mean, those are low ownerships because of their price, but their ceiling so high. I like Chris Carson. I like Chris Carson every time. We've talked about him.
I love Chris Carson.
He's such a high floor. He's such a high floor. He's so talented. I mean, both weeks, I think he's definitely made my running back love list. And I have no reason to go against him for 6,600 in week 3. I mean, at 10% of the field, you still have leverage too. So
you guys want to hear my hot take on him? I think he should be, just from like a eye test here, he should be the highest owned running back on the slate. Over under, I mean, is crazy high. Miles Sanders is in that same price range. I think Chris Carson straight up is a better play, in my opinion. I don't have solid evidence to disagree. Yeah. I love Chris Carson. I mean, you can take a discount. 6,600 is not that much. So, and I think as much as we want to pay up for running back too, I think there's still some options to pay down. Looking at the ownership too for people like,
I mean, Jerick McKinnon, he's supposed to get the totes. The talent's there. They paid a lot for him. I know we've kind of been waiting for his breakout, but they paid a lot for him. They're going to want to use him still. They kept him on the roster. I mean, think of how many people would have got cut. You know what I mean? I think of things like that. Like, think of for the amount of time he's missed. And I mean, in his first real actually call to action last game, he looked awesome. He looked way better. I mean, who's better talent wise, Jerick McKinnon or Jeff Wilson? Absolutely Jerick McKinnon. So I think at 4,900, and they said he's going to get the totes. I like that, and he's actually looking at only about 9% ownership right now. I love. I mean, Singletary, as we talked about, his higher ownership, but that's kind of the same boat. And then what I don't understand too, Matt, is just because of the 4 we talked about, Mike Davis at 5,100. I mean, there's no McCaffrey, and we just saw him. I mean, he had one rush for 1 yard, but 8 catches.
Yeah, got target.
That's crazy. I mean, if he can do a third of what McCaffrey does, he's going to smoke his price point. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and that's not
he did last week too. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So I do like him. I'm seeing some really good value plays at running back. Joshua Kelly's not a bad stab. He got 25 touches last week. Antonio Gibson at 4,700. I just see a lot of I like almost going big pay up for one running back. Like if you want to take a Zeke or Henry and then pay down on the other one significantly and take one of these lesser owned guys who should get a lot of totes.
Now, TJ, I know we have some favorite running back plays that you were supposed to talk about on the radio show, but you didn't. And we'll save that for the Patreon members, the 1-2 stack from a certain team. We won't go down that far. But do we have any other running backs that we're going to talk about for GPPs? Do you guys have any interest?
I got 2 more, but I'll let TJ take it away.
No, I mean, Kev, I think you kind of covered it. I do like Mike Davis, but I think it's a pretty tough matchup against that Chargers defense. No Melvin Ingram though, so that obviously helps him.
Yep.
McCaffrey is such a workhorse for them that I think they're going to lean on Mike Davis more than we do.
They're not going to know what to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be Teddy Bridgewater just what do you want me to do? Just keep throwing to Robbie Anderson and more? No, I'm going to get the ball to Mike Davis. I don't want the ball. Yeah, so I do like the 5,100 price tag. I don't know if I'm going to have him. I'm going to have to wait and see a little bit over this next half hour, but people. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I'll ask you, T, what do you think about Rex Burkhead? I mean, James White's not playing again for obvious reasons.
Yeah,
what do you think?
Well, that's who I was going to talk about next. I mean, Rex obviously isn't really a running back. He's more of a pass-catching back, if that makes sense. So I definitely don't hate him at 4K. I could see him falling into the end zone this week against the Raiders. I think he's a pretty good salary saver as a GP, as a tourney play, but for cash, I'm just mainly focusing on guys like Miles Davis, Kenyon Drake, just the studs that are being high owned, and again, I think rightfully so. But I'll definitely have some stabs of Rex Burkhead this week for sure in some tournaments.
Miles Davis, is he switching his career around?
Did I say Miles Davis?
Consider me Miles Davis.
Did I really say Miles Davis?
Oh yeah, God, I love
I didn't hear.
We're talking about Mike Davis.
Miles Sanders' name is now Miles Davis to me. I will never call him Miles Sanders again. He will be Miles Davis from here on out for me.
I think we can move on to wide receiver.
I was gonna say,
At least I didn't call Miles Sanders Miles Davis on the radio, because that would have been. They would have been like, "Who is this kid?" No,
TJ did great on the radio. We're all just messing with him. All right, you said you got to hear it.
Yeah, I got it.
You don't believe me? All right. All right, let's go ahead and move over to the wide receiver position here. We're starting from the top. D-Hop, we've already talked about because we can't stop talking about him. Obviously, the stud on the slate. The pay-up option, most obvious pay-up option, in my opinion, $7,900. Lockett, Cooper, Harry, Metcalf. 2 Seattle wide receivers are in the top 5. What do you guys think about that? What do you guys think about the chalk here at the top?
I think I'll just say real quick. I think the Seattle and the Dallas players, I mean, if you look, I was looking through some the rankings in terms of who has the toughest shadows or corners or who's going to be on him this week, and I think it's ironically the 3 players in the shootout that of a singular team in the Cowboys, and then the 2 big wide receivers on the Seahawks. Not only are they in a shootout, they have some of the most favorable matchups in terms of who's going to be shadowing them. So I mean, I think that's going to be you set multiple lineups and you pick a couple of each, and it's just one's going to hit, one's going to not. Maybe both. I mean, maybe both hit, but I mean, obviously there's going to be a standout between those. But I mean, there's no way that at least 1 or 2 receivers from that game don't have huge games. There's just no way.
You said,
yeah, I think.
Okay.
Sorry, I just want to touch this real quick. Trevon Diggs, the rookie out of Alabama, I think he'll be on DK Metcalf, and good luck. He's 6'1". DK Metcalf isn't a boy. DK Metcalf is a man. That is a man child. So he's an absolute freak. Yeah, he put Gilmore in a blender. So there's nothing Gilmore can do when you don't have pressure on, when you can't put pressure on Russ and you can just sit in the pocket. You can't expect a secondary to literally cover somebody running a route for 5
It was good
seconds.
coverage too. That over the top throw. It's just
it was incredible. It's just DK Metcalf. I mean, it was a perfect pass from Russ. But regardless, I digress. So yeah, I definitely like those wide receivers, Kev. I'm with you on that Dallas Seattle game.
Another thing to mention here: the Dallas Seattle game opened up, I believe, at a 52, and the Arizona Detroit game opened up something similar to that. Right now, Seattle and Dallas got up to a 57. Arizona, Detroit's almost at a 56. One of these two games, they're gonna break the slate. They have to. When you talk about the over under, the next closest one is Tennessee and Minnesota. I just don't see that. I don't see another game outscoring. It's gonna be tough. It's going to be tough for another game to outscore these two game stacks. And when you're talking about good chalk on the slate, it's gonna have to come from these games. It's gonna come from these wide receivers, running back. That's why we talked about the Zeke pivot, the Chris Carson pivots. Those are going to be great pivot plays off the chalk. So I completely agree with you guys there. I mean, all this chalk up at the top wide receiver, it's going to be very hard to fade. But if we had to go down further on the slate here for the wide receiver position, is there any other guys you're looking towards to maybe play other than the heavy chalk guys?
Like GPPs?
Let's stay in the cash. Is there any other cash? Right? Yeah, is there any other cash options you're thinking about?
I mean, it's right on the cusp.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say Deontay Johnson. I kind of like on the. I mean, maybe with a Big Ben stack, but nothing too much in the chalk area. What do you think, too?
Yeah, I agree. I was gonna say maybe like CeeDee Lamb again in that shootout game, Dallas and Seattle. I think he's been pretty good so far through his first two games. 6 targets week 1 against LA. He had 9 against Atlanta in that shootout. So I mean, he could definitely see 8 to 10 targets again this week. So I definitely don't hate CeeDee Lamb at 5,400. I think he could be a viable last piece in cash.
Yeah, so I think we can all agree here. If you're not stacking that game in some way, shape, or form, then you're probably not doing cash, right? Yeah. So anything else becomes a GPP option. Is there any GPP options you guys are looking for wide receiver?
I got a ton.
Okay. Go ahead and start reading them off. Go ahead.
I'm big on wide receiver this week. I think there's so many good options. I mean, I'm just going to go through some of these. I'm just going to go down the list. I mean, right off the rip, I like Terry McLaurin. 5,900 is cheap. I think we're seeing the emergence of a real stud. He might never be that cheap again. He's making a connection with Dwayne, and I think the talent's there. The eye test, he passes the eye test. Talent's there. Darius Slayton, I've been talking about this guy all year. I think he's very talented. I mean, as a rookie, scored 8 touchdowns.
No Sherman.
Games. No Sherman or Sterling. No Sherman. No Sterling Shepard. It's a very, very favorable matchup for him. And 4,900 is just ridiculous. We saw the boom potential week 1, 2 touchdowns. He's a touchdown target. He's a touchdown magnet. Definitely love that. That's a very favorable matchup. No Sherman. No Shepard. Definitely love that. Corey Davis, I think his ownership's going to shoot up. AJ Brown's still out. I'm surprised it's not. That's not a bad pick. It's not my favorite one of them, but it's not a bad pick at all. Russell Gage, I mean, I think Calvin Ridley I always like. I mean, he's looking great now. I mean, it's hard to deny the talent right now. It's going to be hard to imagine he gets 2 more touchdowns for the 3rd week in a row. But with Julio out, Matt Ryan's going to have to throw. I don't know if that hurts or helps him. It might draw some coverage away from him. So I'm curious to see how Calvin does as the lead guy. I mean, we've seen it happen many times before where these guys are awesome compliments to their number 1 receiver, and then when they get the limelight on them, they suck. So I don't think that's going to happen really, but I'd like to see that. But I think Russell Gage is actually the one who benefits the most from that going on personally. Obviously, we talked about the Panthers and what they're going to have to do. They're going to have to rely on the pass game and a different play style more than ever. So I think DJ Moore is live. He's going to be expensive. He's going to be lower owned, but I think DJ Moore is definitely live. And then let me just see. I feel like there's one more that we talked about, Matt, at least the other day.
I have one to fill the air. I have Larry Fitz is also in that shootout game, yet he's not owned whatsoever. 4.6% could easily steal a touchdown or 2. I don't see any reason.
Larry Fitz turns 50 tomorrow.
Who? Larry Fitz is? Yeah, he might. But you know what? If he steals a touchdown or 2 in there, I mean, why not? He got 12 points last game. I mean, he's $4,600. I mean, that's gonna hit value.
That's great.
Yeah.
We talked about this earlier this year. He has the highest floor. I mean, he's played 14 seasons. He's never had a season under 700 receiving yards. It's ridiculous.
He's a wagon.
Yeah. No, I love Larry Fitz. I think everybody does. TJ, any wide receiver picks other than what Kevin just said?
Yeah, let's go dumpster diving.
Okay.
I'm looking at KJ Hamler for the Broncos. Obviously, we have no Cortland Sutton, and we have no Drew Lock either. So
By the way, that was my other one. I forgot. It was Judy, but he's banged up, so I'm right with you.
So Judy's banged up. I mean, 6-point dogs at home to the Buccaneers. Most likely going to be playing from behind. I saw 7 targets against Pittsburgh in week 2. I think the opportunity should be there for him in the slot. So I definitely like KJ Hamler as a GPP play. And another guy is Demary Bird for our Patriots, Kev.
I was hoping you'd touch on him.
Yeah, so week 1 against Miami, he was on there. He was on the field for like 80% of. Matt's gonna kill me for this. He was on the field for 80% of the snaps. Didn't see a target. Him and Cam used to play together back in Carolina as well, so they definitely have a little bit of a chemistry. And we definitely saw that against Seattle. He had 9 targets, 6 receptions for 72 yards. I think he could have a big game against the Raiders. Again, I think the Patriots just absolutely smoked the Raiders today.
Really?
So
when you said it was a blowout, to be honest, I didn't know what you meant. I was like,
not the Raiders. No, I think the Pats take care of the Raiders pretty easy. I think Jacobs is banged up, Waller's banged up. So I think this should be a pretty good game for the Pats.
Right.
But yeah, Demary Bird, I do like him at 3K. Those are 2 guys that are basically the minimum for wide receivers. So and they're both going to be on the field. I mean, so I don't really understand. I had the snap counts here, but I have 98 tabs open, so I don't know where it is anymore. But yeah, so I definitely expect big things from both of those guys. I think at 3K too, they definitely have some pretty big upside. And I mean, even N'Keal Harry too at 4.2. I think that's really cheap for a guy that had 12 targets.
Yeah.
Brady would never throw to these guys. Wouldn't throw to N'Keal Harry last year. If Brady had Demary Bird as his number 2 wide receiver or 3, do you think he's going to throw to him? No, he's just going to try and dump it off to running backs, and he's going to try and hit Edelman over the middle. And what we see with Cam is Cam's trusting his wide receivers, and it's showing with guys like Bird and N'Keal Harry. So I definitely like those 2 as GPP plays. Kevin touched on a bunch of great plays. Guys, any love for Allen Robinson?
I only like Allen Robinson because of targets, to be honest. Kevin, what do you think?
Same thing. I was going to say the same thing. It's target based at this point.
Yeah, it's the opportunity that attracts us to a guy like Allen Robinson. I think he's so talented. And
do you guys like that for AJ Green too? I mean, I know that's the only reason. Do you guys know he got targeted 13 times last game?
Yeah.
29 yards.
Right. I think Burrows is trying to get that connection with him. I think maybe. Like I was talking about with Brady and getting accustomed. Like, these guys didn't have preseason, so I feel like their timing is off in routes and getting connected with their quarterbacks. I mean, Joe Burrow's coming out of college from LSU, and then like Brady going to Tampa. I feel like just the connection isn't there yet, and the longer they have, the more acclimated they'll get, and it'll just be that much smoother going down, get into the season week by week. But yeah, Kev, I can agree with you. I mean, the targets are there. We're looking for opportunity, right? Guys that get the chance, they're playing the snaps, they're out on the field, they have the opportunities from the quarterbacks, they're having targets. Like, that's what we look for in Draftkings is guys that the opportunity. What they do with it is out of our hands. But if they have the opportunity and it works out, then you put yourself in great spots. So guys that are going to get targets are huge. So a guy like AJ Green, Kev, I can see that. If he's going to get 10 targets, like even Deshaun Jackson at 5.2 as a good GPP play. I mean, that wide receiver core is depleted without Rieger and Alshon. We were talking about Wentz. He needs to figure it out and get going here. 2 picks in his first 2 games each. I mean, the targets are there for Deshaun Jackson, and I feel like today he's going to catch one of those bombs. So he has 7 targets in week 1, 9 in week 2. So Wentz is looking at him. Only 8 receptions, so you got to make better with your opportunities. You got to get on the same page. I wouldn't be surprised if Deshaun Jackson had a pretty big day today.
I like that too, because they have to throw to someone. They have to throw to someone.
Besides Ertz and Goddard, because those guys are gonna get the coverage, and rightfully so.
Exactly.
I want to touch base on Allen Robinson real quick, and then we can move on to tight end, just because we're starting to run out of time, guys. If you guys believe in Russell Gage at all, or Ridley, I'm talking to the people asking all the questions about them in the chat. You better come back with Allen Robinson, because if that game's going to be a shootout, guess who's going to benefit the most? It's going to be Allen Robinson, because he's getting the targets. Again, if it's higher scoring, he's going to get a touchdown or 2. He's going to finally get that. So let's go ahead and move on to the tight end position. Ownership has moved, so I will update. Don't worry, Patreon members. I will update. Waller is now projected the highest owned. Logan Thomas is second most, 11.4%. And then Zach Ertz at 10.4. What do you guys think about that shakeup? Nah? That's all you'd say?
I'm laughing. I think Gilmore's going to shadow Waller, so I don't expect anything out of Waller.
Exactly. He's going to take the big guys. I mean,
yeah. That's what they're going to do, or they'll double him if they have to. I think they're going to take. So what Belichick does is he takes away your options, right? He makes you beat you with your second and third options, fourth options even. So I don't see Waller doing anything.
You think Belichick's going to let
Waller
in this?
No, he's going to let Hunter Renfrow and Brian Edwards beat us. It's not going to be Josh Jacobs, and it's not going to be. It's not going to be Waller. Waller's. I can't wait till 4-10 and Waller had 3 touchdowns and 400 yards.
Waller, so shut up.
Yeah,
it's probably true. Yeah, I mean, I can't. Ertz jumped. I'm still surprised. I mean, at 5,100, maybe because it's the cheapest you'll see Ertz, but he jumped right up to the highest ownership, and that's just surprising to me. It's a little bit surprising, but I mean, it isn't, I guess, because like I said, that's the cheapest you'll probably ever get Ertz. Goddard's only 200 cheaper, which is crazy. I mean, the talent's there for both of them. I like Hunter Henry. I do at 4,800. He's actually looking amazing. What'd you say? H. Henry?
I said H. Henry, yeah.
H. Henry. Now, TJ, how do you feel about Drew Sample?
I was literally going to ask. I was going to beat him to the question, too.
Back to Drew Sample, huh? For those of you who weren't... So, when I was on the radio this morning, the host asked me about Drew Sample, and I was just like, come on, man. Like, you're going to throw Drew Sample in my face? Like, very, very grateful for the opportunity to be on the radio, but, like, that's the tight end you're going to ask me about is Drew Sample? Like, come on, Mike.
I don't think anybody's done a lick of research on him.
No.
I mean, it's not that bad of a matchup, I guess. That Philly secondary is brutal, right? And CJ Uzi Mama. I always think of TJ. Well, no, remember TJ Who's Your Mama?
That's what I thought you said.
So that's what I always think when I think of CJ. Yeah, he's out for the year now. So Drew Sample had 9 targets, and again, this Philly secondary is not great. The defense hasn't been playing well, so I could see him falling in the end zone. I mean, I'm not gonna go crazy with him, but like at 3.5, I think that's pretty cheap. I'd rather go to Logan Thomas, but that's just me. I think Logan Thomas has been pretty good so
Logan
far
Thomas.
For half. Yeah, again, it's just the opportunity. He has the same amount of targets as Terry McLaurin so far this year. They each have 17. He played 91% of the snaps last week. He's a great blocking tight end as well. Only 4 catches in each of his first 2 games. So, but he's a solid red zone target in a game where they're 7-point dogs. So, Browns have given up the 5th most receiving yards to tight ends as well. So I think it's a pretty good spot for Logan Thomas. No one asked me about Drew Sample. He's built different.
Yeah,
that's Ryan Doug Friedley. Yeah, he is built different, Doug.
All right, I honestly just kind of want to move past the tight end position, honestly, because we only have 8 minutes left. So let's touch base on defense, and then let's get to the questions, because I know they are spamming the chat with questions right now. Highest owned Eagles, Bucks, Colts. Do you guys have anything to say about those top 3 guys? I know that TJ likes the Eagles. Buccaneers are actually great, just an overall play on my leverage sheet and just in general, because Denver obviously is Denver, and the Colts playing the Jets. Do you guys have any other pivots maybe, or do you just like those 3 teams? Are you going to go any different?
So, I mean, Jordan Reed at 4,000 looks pretty good.
Was that a joke?
I just had to throw up and get it out. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I like this.
Yeah. I was like, wait, are we behind here?
That man is 1 concussion away from just just eating out of a straw for the rest of his life.
I love his mashed potato brain.
The fact that he continuously puts himself through this like grueling head injuries week in and week out. Like that man has had, I think, 19 concussions so far in his NFL career. I feel so bad for him because he's so talented, and then every year it's like boom, he gets hit in the head and he's just done.
Well,
it's terrible.
Decapitated. I'm starting him at 4th.
Yeah, I like it. I do like it.
All right, sorry.
I'm glad we're talking about defense now.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, like you said, paying up. I mean, I just think the Colts and the Bucks at pay ups are interesting. Colts, I mean, they had a monster game last week, and is there a more favorable matchup in history than theirs right now? I mean, it's crazy. Sorry guys, but the worst team in the NFL and banged up too, super banged up. I mean, you got to think that's just such a high floor for that defense.
Giving the Jags some respect, I love it.
Can I read some Colts stats real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. The Colts so far against opposing quarterbacks have only given up 286 total yards. Okay, second most is the Niners with 409. Okay, crazy. Against running backs, the Colts have given up 142 yards. Okay, against wide receivers, obviously we were talking about the quarterback stats. They've only given up 228 yards through the air, and then against tight ends, 11 yards. The Colts defense is built different. They are a wagon. And against that Jets offense that is depleted, I mean, they're going to be, I'm assuming they're very chalky. That's the cash play, I think, at 4-1 if you have the salary to do so. I know it's pretty expensive to see a defense over 4K, but like that Jets team is a nightmare.
It's a nightmare when they're healthy, and now they have like you, me, and my dad starting a wide receiver.
Yeah, it's like I would definitely be way more capable in the slot than you, but let's not go there.
I'm a stud tight end, so it's weird.
All right, we're getting really off track here. So the Colts, the Colts at 4,100. I think that's the only reason that they're lesser owned than the Eagles. The Eagles, you can just save salary. People love saving salary in the defensive spot just because it's so volatile. We never know any given Sunday, right? So Eagles, Bucks, Colts. I think Colts, obviously, consensus here is it's our favorite defense. You guys want to go ahead and just switch gears and start answering some questions? Yep. All right, starting at the top here. If you guys want to spam the chat with questions, feel free to do so. We'll do about 5 minutes. Let's see. Kyler Murray or Tom Brady for GPP. You got to go Tom Brady if you're just talking about GPP, but it depends on the size. I will say that.
Yeah, especially big contest Brady for sure.
Yeah, if you're playing a small entry GPP, I feel like Kyler Murray is just such good chalk. And again, that game has such shootout potential. You have to go Kyler Murray in small GPPs.
Agree.
All right. Thanks for another show, fellas. Thank you. How do you guys feel if I stack Russell, Lockett, and Metcalf and possibly adding Carson? So a 4-man stack.
That's super contrarian.
Oof. Or should I just stick with Wilson and his wide receivers? Do you guys want to answer that? You love that?
They all have such a high floor, I feel like.
Yeah, it's a great matchup. I mean, it is very contrarian to have all 4 of them in your lineup, and then I mean, you come back with somebody on that Cowboys like Amari Cooper or CeeDee Lamb. I don't know what you'll have left over for salary, but
or even Lamb. Save some salary with Lamb.
Yeah, exactly. Save CeeDee Lamb. Gallup. I mean,
obviously, if it doesn't go like to a super shootout or even like
you're screwed. Yeah, that lineup. It's completely different. You got no chance. But if that game shoots out and Seattle hangs 5 TDs,
then who's going to have 4? Like, I don't hate it. I mean, if you said pick 3 players from an offense, I mean, it doesn't get much better than those 3. So not counting Russell, obviously.
Okay.
I'm looking to do GPP and cash for the Seattle stack. Don't disagree with that. I like that. Sorry, I'm trying to find all the questions.
Deontay Johnson or Robbie Anderson for cash?
Yeah.
I think
Deontay Johnson more probably.
Yeah, I think Deontay Johnson too. Robbie Anderson's been great, but Matt, I don't know.
Honestly, when you look at the cash optimal lineup, it probably won't have either one of those guys in there. I'll just say that both those guys are going to be lower owned than cash, straight up. Just saying.
I think Deontay's just outside the top 10.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to pick one,
I think he'll be closer to the to a chalkier play.
Julio ruled out, so Ridley a good option. My ownership's actually not updated for wide receiver. I know both of those wide receivers, I'm talking about Gage and Ridley, will be probably higher owned than what they're showing right now. I think Ridley more so for obvious reasons. He'd probably be closer if I had to guess to like 20% in GPPs. I think it's going to shoot up that much. Right now he's sitting at just about 10%. So yes, he's obviously a great option. We're not going to disagree with that. The only real, I guess, I'm really hesitant about them not getting into a shootout and then really having a floor game just because it's the Bears, and we obviously know their offensive potential. So that's the only thing. Brady, Evans, Howard stack for big GPPs. TJ, I think you like that.
Yeah, I love it. Maybe not OJ Howard. I strictly want to play Brady, Evans, and Godwin.
Yeah.
So if Brady has a great day through the air, I expect it to be to those 2 guys. And if I'm wrong, again, that lineup's dead in the water, and I forget about it. And I forget that I ever mentioned to play Brady. And we all can forget about it collectively.
Bruce Arians is just so non-apologetic about how much he hates his tight end. It's crazy. Yeah, Gronk and OJ both, when they don't do well, he's like, because they suck. Like,
no, he said we don't need to throw to tight ends. That's what wide receivers are for. Like, what?
I'm saying
what are you trying to prove? Like, I don't understand it. All right, let's keep going through the questions though. We got a bunch.
In big GPPs, is the optimal flex usually a wide receiver or running back? That's actually a great question. More so, wide receiver from a game stack is usually the optimal. So, for instance, like if you're stacking the Dallas-Seattle game and they happen to make the optimal, it's going to be 3 wide receivers from that game. It's probably going to happen that way. The only time when the running back is in the flex spot and an optimal is if every single game is pretty even. Like there's no standout outlier game stack. That's when the running back position is in the flex, which does happen. But wide receivers are usually more in the optimals than running backs, per my research anyway. Thoughts about the Rams stack? Well, nobody's talked about it, so guess what? That means it is live. Feel free to do so. I feel like that Buffalo Rams game, I haven't talked about them yet, could be a sneaky stack. I don't know if you guys agree with that.
Yep. No, that game opened up at 45 over under. It's now jumped up to 47 and a half. So money coming in on the over. So I think it could be a sneaky shootout. So I definitely like that Ram stack if you want to. I also kind of like a sneaky Bill stack too.
Yeah, I love my boy Josh Allen at this point.
Yeah, him and Diggs, man, and John Brown. I mean,
all right, relax.
Wait, what?
Good.
They have been great. They've been great.
I just want to see. You can shut me up forever after this week. If they do well.
If they do well, you don't believe in them? Oh, because of the matchups? Is that what you're talking about? Yeah.
We can't shut you up forever, but we'll shut you up for a little bit.
I hate to do this. We're gonna answer 3 more questions, and then I have to update the Patreon cheat sheet for all the members, guys. If you made it this far, thank you for tuning in. By the way, 3 more questions. Slayton or Tate is a question that just came in. Kevin, I will push that in your direction.
Tate is good in the slot. He's good everywhere. If you're talking PPR, he actually might have a higher floor, but I think upside for GPP Slayton. Touchdown, definitely more efficient in the red zone than him.
Got it. I guess go ahead and pick some questions because there's a ton of them. TJ.
Yeah, I'm gonna bang. Yeah, let's bang some out. So we covered the Robbie Anderson, Deontay Johnson, McKinnon, or Joshua Kelly for RB2. I think Joshua Kelly. I think McKinnon is more of a GPP play. I don't know if you guys agree with me.
Yes.
Okay. Gage now that Julio's out.
Oof,
definitely.
They're flying in now.
Let's rip some off. Let's give him another minute.
My
favorite
question
tight ends, Kev, Jordan Reed, Drew Sample, built different.
Logan Thomas, I'm with you.
Logan Thomas. Okay, Logan Thomas. I like it too. I like the Philly tight ends. McKinnon or Singletary for DK Cash. I'm going Singletary. I think that's a safer play. Yep. Hunt and Chubb stack for GPP or only one or the other. I kind of like a both stack.
I don't think they eat like they did last week, but okay.
If you're taking one, is it Chubb?
I'm taking Chubb for a higher floor.
I agree.
Yeah.
Same. I agree. Stafford or Ben for cash?
Stafford.
Absolutely.
Only for cash.
Okay, I agree with you guys.
Only for cash.
Tougher matchup for Ben.
Yeah.
Both are good for GPP.
I like him, yeah.
Nick Mullins, boom or bust against the Giants.
Bust.
Bust.
I'd stay away from that. Yeah, I'd stay away from that. Brady or Wilson in GPPs? I say Brady. I think you save a lot of salary there, and I think Wilson's going to be pretty high owned. Agree, guys?
Yep.
Yes. I agree. Okay. I'm just letting you go.
Okay. Lockett or Metcalf for cash?
Lockett's higher owned technically.
Question of the hour. That's a question of the hour. I don't know.
Yeah, that is the question. I think Lockett for cash. I think Metcalf for GPPs.
I think both for cash, to be honest. But yeah, if you can get both in there.
Yeah. Both viable. Cook or Henry? I'm on the Cook train.
I'm on the Henry train. He's got to have a bounce back. I also have Henry in the league, so biased.
Okay.
I guess I'm more Henry. That's a toss up.
Lamb or Deontay Johnson?
Ooh.
I think Lamb.
It's situational.
I think Lamb's
Yeah,
it is situational. Yeah, I think they're both pretty good spots. Ryan Freedley, my question was skipped. That's okay. Jonathan Taylor again this week?
Hate him. 7,000.
You hate him? Okay.
I just don't need. He's one of my 7,000 is so much for 5,700.
Okay.
All right.
Like that's crazy.
All right, guys, I do have to get off here, so I'm. Okay.
One more T.
Amanda threw the background again through the camera in her. T.Y. Hilton for GPP might have motivation from Granny. Dude, I'm a big motivation type guy. I think guys play better when they're motivated. No Dion Lewis love. I feel like there's too much going on in that Giants backfield.
Yeah,
you got Devonta Freeman now. You got Wayne Gallman. So I think you let that kind of develop before you're taking any chances on them.
Gallman's been proficient in the red zone, yeah, historically.
All right. I'm gonna end it, guys. I'm gonna cut them off
good.
or mute you guys. Yeah, you did. We gotta have a rapid fire TJ session every single live stream.
Yeah, we should.
We're gonna rename that. I'm gonna have a screen for it. Do you know what? Next live stream, I have a TJ rapid fire screen for you guys. All right. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I gotta go. Have a great NFL Sunday. Any last words, guys?
Good luck, boys and girls.
We love you guys.
All right, guys. With all that being said, let's cash.
TJ, I like your hat. Bye.